Welcome to QueAquatics and Exotics. My name's Suzy and today I'm going to be setting up a 5-gallon Betta tank. Here is my 5-gallon Betta tank that 2 weeks ago I started the nitrogen cycle on. But if you're not sure what a nitrogen cycle is, go ahead and check out this video over here. It explains what the nitrogen cycle is, why it is, and how long it takes. But right now, I'm going to set up this tank. And as I set up this tank, I'm going to put things in two different categories. Things I want to have and things I need to have, because they're very different. There are some things that this tank needs for my fish. For instance, they need clean water. They're going to need filtration. They're going to need a heater. So one of the first things I have to get is a heater. That's a need. It's not a want. So let's start with the heater. When you're trying to figure out how big is your heater going to be, there's a couple things you want to keep in mind. And I'll explain it to you while I put this in here. There's a couple things you're going to want to keep in mind. One, how big is your tank? You're going to have a different wattage, I'll call it size, different size heater for a 5-gallon tank than you might have for a 55-gallon tank for obvious reasons. But that's not the only thing to keep into consideration when you're picking out a heater. You're going to need to take into consideration the size of the tank and your ambient temperature. So my ambient temperature in this room is 68 degrees. I want this tank to be 78 degrees. So I'm going to look for the qualifications of a 5-gallon tank and need to raise it 10 degrees. Now if I was setting this tank up in my basement only gets 60 degrees. It's nice and cool down there. So if I was to set this tank up in my basement, I would need a heater large enough to heat 5 gallons of water to raise it 18 degrees. It's a little different, especially when you're talking about if you had a 10-gallon tank or a 20-gallon tank or even a 55-gallon tank. You have to look at the considerations of how much water are you heating and how many degrees do you need to raise it. So for up here, the qualifications, and I looked at this chart right here, 50-watt heater was perfect for a 5-gallon tank, raising it 10 degrees. So now that that's in place, that's a need. My Betta fish wants to be at tropical conditions around 78 degrees. I find some experts have told me that for a Betta fish would thrive in 78 degree temperature, so that's what I go with. But do your own research. Check out some Betta breeders. That's hard to say. Check out some Betta breeders. Ask them questions. Find out what they think the temperature should be at. Now let's say we were in maybe Indonesia and it's 75, 78 degrees out. I probably wouldn't need a heater because that's the temperature I'd want my water at. So it all depends on what your ambient temperature is. Here I live in northeast part of the United States. I need a heater on my tank. But I want to make sure that this heater is going to be accurate. So I need some kind of thermometer. Again, my opinion, this is a need, not a want. I can't just trust, oh, that's too cold. I mean, I think I do that and I'm usually wrong. So now this thermometer, a thermometer you can get for $3 and you stick it here and it sticks on the side of your tank. I think it looks ugly, but it will tell you what the temperature is. I personally, this is a want, prefer my digital thermometer. I go like that, it says 68 degrees. I need to raise this 10 degrees. And what I'm going to do before I put my fish in, I'm going to test this all the time to make sure it gets up to 78 and stays there. If I'm doing this and I find out this heater goes to 78, 79, 80, 82 and just keeps going, something's wrong with this heater because this is set for 78 degrees. So I'm taking the temperature. And see how it's all jumbled? My thermometer is not broken. There's a little plastic doohickey on it that you can pull off. Yeah, I did that. I'm fine testing my water. I find it a couple times a day because not only with this gun, I find it fun. It's very affordable. I have over 50 tanks, so I can sit there and walk by, check, check, check. I'm going to be testing this water for the next couple weeks while the tank cycles to make sure that heater works properly. That's a need. Whether I get a $4 one or $15 one, that's a want. But I need to be able to measure the temperature of the water. Can you see all these wires hanging down here? You can see me through it. I'm not going to want to see all these wires hanging down. I don't want this back to be see-through. So you can either paint your tank. I prefer to put vinyl on my tanks. There's a lot of backgrounds you could put on. Now this all is a want. You can put pretty much any color, any decoration, anything you want on the back of your tank. Anything, I'd say, except for a mirror. And we'll talk about that later. But you're not going to want to put a mirror on the back of your Betta tank. But this is what I'm going to put. I like the good old boring Steenfott blue, solid color, boom. Some people might like a black background. Other people might use a placemat that they have, their favorite placemat. Maybe you have a map that you love and want to put a map. You can put anything you want. That's the difference between setting up a tank for what you want and what you need. I personally am going to use this vinyl. So what I'll do is take these things off real quick and just set up my vinyl. Now I've had many videos showing people how I set up vinyl on a tank. You could see you could see this video up here. Now let me put all my stuff back. So how's that? Is that a little better? And again, that's preference. That's better for me. And after all, I'm the one that's going to have to look at it. I wish I had a really good light here. How's that? So the next thing I'm going to want is some decorations in here. So did we all see the backing? I'm going to turn this light off. It's way too bright. But I wanted to show you the blue backing. Wow, that was a bright light, huh? So I like the blue background. The next thing I'm going to want to put in there is some decorations. The decorations are going to be twofold. One for entertainment for my fish, and two, to give me something nice to look at. I'm going to happen to put some driftwood in because I know my other Betta fish, they like to swim around and under tunnels. All you got to do is give it a little boil. So bring it over here to the stove and let's boil that sucker for a little bit and see what happens. Okay, we just got some more water. Now let's give that a little boil. There we go. So now I've got my driftwood in here. Now I'm going to want to add some plants. They don't have to be real plants. So if anybody tells you they have to be real plants or they have to be fake plants, it's your preference. I prefer real plants, but silk plants are just as nice. And the reason I say silk is because they're soft. There's no plastic sharp edges that's going to hurt your fish. Now keep in mind they've got flowy fins. The two plants that I'm getting are Anubis and Java Fern. And now I'm going to show you how to attach, if you get a rhizome plant, how you can attach that plant to a rock. That'll keep it centered to the ground with the roots buried and the rhizome on top. Take a look at how I did this. I picked two pretty easy plants to grow. This is the Anubis. You can find this at the Petco. They come in clear cylinder. This is Java Fern. You see how there's a little tip right here? There's a whole new plant growing. That's pretty cool. That's how it propagates. It grows on the end like a daughter plant. Pretty cool. But this is sitting in this, what you call a rock wool. So the first thing you have to do is take it out. It's wrapped up. Just got to slowly unwrap it. Try not to hurt the roots too bad. This might even be two different plants, which is way cool. So now I want to show you something very special about these two plants. Not all plants, but these two plants. Like this one is already on the rock, and I'm going to show you how I did that. You see all these roots? They're going to grow underground. And you see this part right here? That is called a rhizome. So what we're going to do is glue that rhizome with a little bit of super glue gel. Let it dry thoroughly to a rock, which is going to hold it in place and keep it down, and as it grows, the roots will grow in the ground, which is what I did to this one. So let's look as we put it in. And you can see that it'll just sink to the bottom. and then the roots will start growing down. So let's get back here. So what I do is I put the rock down and see the best way I want this plant to look. It almost looks like there's two plants here mixed together. There are. So here's a rhizome. It's like the stem that goes across and all these roots. So we're going to glue this around this rock. Now we're going to take another piece. This time we're going to put it right on the rhizome to make sure we don't get it on the roots. Put this right here. That's going to go into place. So here you don't want to put it into the tank until it's dry. So we're going to let this dry. And then once this is dry, we're going to put this in the tank. You got to be real careful. There's all different kinds of plants. There's stem plants. There's rhizome plants. There's floating plants. But because I got two rhizome plants, they're both attached to rocks sitting on the bottom. Again, that's a want. But they do need something to sit and rest on. Let's say you're walking up and down the stairs and you got super tired and you just want to sit down on a stool for a few minutes. That's what that random leaf will be there. Sometimes when you go to the big pet stores, you know, they have those silk leaves that just stick to the side of the tank. That works just as well. As long as you have a leaf or something that for them to sit on, because my fish love to sit on top of the leaves like a hammock and take a rest. But they like to go through and above and around the leaves. They like to go under tunnels. So I give them some entertainment, some enrichment, plus it's what I like to look at. Don't let people tell you that you have to do what they like. You do what you like. The next thing is not a want, it's a must. Most of my bettas can jump. They can jump right out of the tank. So I need to either buy a lid or make a lid. I happen to buy a little glass lid at a flea market. I cut a little piece out of the back, got a little cutout for all my little doohickeys, which is my air pump that I showed in this other video. The only thing is it doesn't have a cute little, it doesn't have a handle. What I did for my handle is one of these little pitcher hooks. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to put this on here. There we go. So now I have a little handle that I can pick it up when I go to feed. So that serves two purposes. Not only does it keep the fish in the tank, which is critical, it really slows down the evaporation of the water in your tank. So it's twofold. Next, I'm going to want a light. I got plants that are low light, so the ambient light would be enough, but I want a light on my tank so I can see my fish from across the room. There we go. This is a little tiny 10-inch light that sits just like this, and it has two switches so I can do the blue light at night or the white light. Isn't that nice? I really like the light on the tank. I might move this all the way over to the side. That's the fun part. How does that look? And right here in the middle is where I'm going to put the silk plant in the back as soon as it comes in. There's two different requirements. One, the requirement that your fish is going to need a very safe environment with the right temperature, healthy water. And two, what you like to look at. Don't let other people tell you that you can't decorate your tank that way. If it's your tank, as long as your fish is safe and happy, decorate it the way you like. Thanks everybody, and I will see you next time.
So come along with me, it's SuzyQue. SuzyQue. Hey, everybody, it's SuzyQue. Hey, everybody, it's SuzyQue. Nah, nah, hey, everybody, it's SuzyQue. So come along with me. Said I'm SuzyQue.